My name is Mira. I am 16 years old, and I live in a small town called Bransley. It is a quiet place by the sea with strong winds and long gray beaches. I live with my parents, my older brother Noel, and my grandmother. We all live in a small white house 2 streets away from the coast. My parents run a bakery, and my brother goes to college nearby. My grandmother is old and sick. She stays in bed most days and doesn't walk much anymore. Her hands shake when she lifts a cup, and her voice is sometimes hard to hear. But when she speaks about the past, she sounds clearer and stronger. She often talks about her childhood and the old lighthouse on the cliffs. I have never been there, but I have seen it from far away. It looks dark and tall, standing alone at the edge of the sea. Some people say it's haunted. Others say it's just dangerous. One afternoon, I came home from school and walked upstairs. I was taking off my shoes when I heard a loud noise from my grandmother's room. I ran inside and saw her trying to sit up. Her pillow had fallen to the floor. I helped her get comfortable again. Then she grabbed my hand and whispered something strange. "Go to the lighthouse," she said. "Bring me water from the barrel. It's still there." I didn't know what she meant. "What barrel?" I asked. She closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "Behind the lighthouse. There is a barrel. I need water from it." Her voice was quiet, but serious. I looked at her and nodded. "Okay," I said, but I was confused. Later, I told my mother what happened. She gave me a tired smile. "She's not thinking clearly," she said. "That place is far and not safe. There's no barrel there. She just remembers it from many years ago." My mother poured a glass of clean water from the tap and brought it to her. But my grandmother didn't drink it. "That's not the right water," she said softly. "Please. The lighthouse water is different." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. I knew she wasn't strong anymore, and maybe her mind was not always clear. But something in her voice stayed with me. She believed the water from the lighthouse would help her. Maybe she didn't need it for her body. Maybe she needed it for her heart. The next morning, I talked to Noel. We were in the kitchen, eating toast. I told him about the barrel and the water. He raised his eyebrows. "You want to go there?" he asked. I nodded. "It matters to her," I said. "Even if the barrel is not real, maybe she just needs to believe it is." Noel didn't answer right away. Then he looked at me and said, "You're not going alone." We left just before noon. I packed 2 bottles of water, some crackers, and a flashlight. Noel brought a rope and a small shovel, just in case. The sky was cloudy and the wind was strong. The road to the cliffs had a warning sign. We walked past it. We followed a path that curved up a hill. The lighthouse looked bigger as we got closer. Its windows were broken, and the door at the bottom was hanging off its hinges. We didn't go inside. Instead, we walked around the back. There were broken rocks, dry grass, and seabirds in the sky. Then I saw it. A wooden barrel, pushed against the back wall. It was old and covered in dirt. Some of the boards were cracked, but it was still standing. I walked over and opened the lid. The water inside looked dark and dirty. There were leaves floating on top. "We can't give her this," Noel said. I agreed. It smelled bad. But I noticed something else. There was something shiny under the water. I leaned in and reached down with my hand. I pulled out a small metal box. It was cold and heavy. There was a lock on it, but it was rusted. I wiped it clean with my sleeve. Noel stared at it. "That's not water," he said. "But maybe it's what she really wanted." We brought the box home. We didn't show it to our parents right away. We cleaned it and used a tool from the garage to break the lock. Inside, there were letters and a necklace. The paper was old and yellow, but we could still read the words. The letter on top was from my grandfather. He wrote it before he died, many years ago. It was a letter to my grandmother. He said he hid the box near the lighthouse because it was their secret place. He hoped she would find it one day. He also wrote about the necklace. It had been in their family for a long time. It had the words, "Love is the light," written on it. We showed the box to our grandmother that evening. When she saw the necklace, she started to cry. Her hands were shaking as she held it. She pressed it to her chest and closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked peaceful. "I knew he left me something," she said softly. "I could feel it. That's why I wanted the water. I remembered the barrel, and I remembered waiting there with him when we were young. I didn't say anything. Noel stood next to me, quiet too. We didn't need to speak. We understood what she meant. Sometimes memories live in places. Sometimes people just need to touch something from the past to feel whole again. That night, the house felt different. My grandmother was still sick, but she smiled more. She looked out the window and whispered something about the wind and the sea. I listened carefully. The waves were louder than usual. Or maybe I was just paying more attention. Before I share the rest of my story, could you please tell me where you're from? It gives me strength to know there's someone out there who listens to me, who understands me. It means a lot to me. For a few days after we found the box, my grandmother seemed better. She still stayed in bed, but her voice sounded stronger. She smiled when she touched the necklace. She asked me to read the letters to her. I sat beside her and read slowly, one letter each day. Most were short. Some were full of love. Others were about memories, small things like a walk by the sea or a meal they shared when they were young. My grandmother closed her eyes while I read. She said she could still hear his voice in her mind. One morning, she looked at me with serious eyes. "Mira," she said, "there's something more at that lighthouse. The barrel wasn't just a hiding place. There's something under it. We put something there years ago. I think it's still there." I asked her what it was, but she shook her head. "I can't remember it clearly," she said, "but I feel it in my bones. It's calling me. I told Noel what she said. He didn't like it. We already went once, he said. We found the box. Isn't that enough? I understood his worry, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. My grandmother didn't have much time left. If there was anything else out there, I wanted to find it for her. We don't have to go far this time, I said. Just move the barrel. Check the ground. Noel agreed, but not right away. He waited until the weekend when he didn't have class. We left in the morning. This time we didn't pack much. We brought water and gloves, and Noel carried the shovel again. The sky was clear, but the wind was cold. It pushed against our backs as we walked. The path was the same, but the mood was different. The lighthouse looked less scary now. It felt like a place that belonged to us somehow. We walked around the back and found the barrel again. It was still there, but one side had broken more since our last visit. Noel touched it and shook his head. It's falling apart, he said. Let's move it before it breaks on its own. We pushed it aside and placed it on the ground. It was heavy, but together we managed. The ground beneath was hard. It didn't look like anything special, just dirt and small rocks. Noel used the shovel to dig. He moved slowly, clearing a space about 1 meter wide. After a few minutes, the shovel hit something solid. We looked at each other. Wood? I asked. He nodded. We dug around the edge. Then we saw it clearly. It was a small wooden chest, even older than the first box. The lock on this one was made of iron. It was rusted, but still holding the lid shut. We cleaned off the dirt and took the chest home. We waited until evening. When the house was quiet, we brought it into my grandmother's room. Her eyes widened when she saw it. That's it, she said. That's what I remembered. Open it. My father helped us break the lock. He was curious now, too. Inside the chest, there were old books wrapped in cloth. The pages were soft and brown with age. There were more letters and some photos we had never seen before. But there was also something else. A small glass bottle filled with white sand and a folded piece of paper tied with ribbon. The paper was marked with a symbol, a star with a circle around it. My grandmother held the bottle in her hand. Your grandfather brought that sand back from a beach far away, she said. We went there before we got married. He said it was our special place. He always wanted to go back. But life got busy. And then he got sick. We opened the ribbon and read the paper. It was a map. Not of the town, but of the coastline. There was a mark near the bottom of the cliffs, below the lighthouse. My grandmother nodded when she saw it. That's where he wanted to build something. A small room for his art. He painted, you know. But he didn't get the chance. My brother and I looked at each other. Do you think it's still there? I asked. Noel didn't answer right away. Then he said, There might be something down there, but the cliffs are steep. We'd need ropes. It could be dangerous. My grandmother touched my arm. I don't want you to get hurt, she said. But if you go, you'll find his last work. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about the map and the bottle of sand. I imagined my grandfather painting near the sea, listening to the waves crash against the rocks. I wanted to see what he had made. I wanted to bring a piece of it back to her. The next day, Noel and I prepared for the climb. He found an old rope in the garage and tested it. I wore strong shoes and brought gloves. We went back to the lighthouse in the afternoon. The sun was bright and the sea was loud. We walked carefully along the edge of the cliff until we reached the spot marked on the map. There was a narrow path going down. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. We tied the rope to a metal post and took slow steps downward. The ground was rough and full of loose stones. Halfway down, Noel pointed to a small opening in the rock. It was a door, wooden and old, but still closed. We reached it and stood in silence. Then Noel pushed it open. Inside, the room was dark but dry. The walls were made of stone. There was a table and a small bench. On the table was a painting. It showed a young woman standing on the beach. She wore a white dress and looked out at the sea. The wind moved her hair. It was our grandmother. There were other paintings stacked beside the table. Some were of the lighthouse. Others were of birds, waves, and clouds. We stood there for a long time, not speaking. Then I picked up the painting of her and held it close. We carried it home carefully. When we showed it to our grandmother, her eyes filled with tears. "He painted this the day he asked me to marry him," she said. "He said I looked like part of the sea." I couldn't stop looking at her face. There was joy and sadness mixed together. She held the painting in her lap for the rest of the day. That evening, she asked us to place it on the wall beside her bed. "I want to see him when I wake up," she said. That night, she slept better than she had in months. She didn't wake up coughing. She didn't call out in fear. She just rested, quiet and calm. I sat in a chair beside her bed and listened to her breathing. I knew she was still sick, but something had changed. She had found a piece of her past, and it gave her peace. I felt proud that we had helped her. I knew we had done something important. In the morning, she asked for the necklace again. She wore it while we ate breakfast in her room. She smiled at everyone. Even my father, who didn't always show his feelings, sat beside her and held her hand. We never told many people about the paintings. They stayed with us. My mother cleaned them and put them in wooden frames. Some went into the living room. Others stayed in my grandmother's room. A few weeks later, she passed away. It was peaceful. She was asleep, with the painting beside her and the necklace in her hand. After the funeral, Noel and I walked back to the lighthouse. We stood there in silence, listening to the sea. The wind blew around us, but it didn't feel cold anymore. The lighthouse didn't look scary now. It felt like part of our story, a place full of memories, not ghosts. I knew I would come back again. Maybe one day I would bring my own children here and tell them about the old barrel, the hidden letters, and the painting by the sea. After my grandmother passed away, the house felt quiet in a new way. Her bedroom still smelled like her hand cream and soft pillows. The necklace stayed on her table, next to the folded letters and her glasses. We didn't move anything for a long time. My mother said we should let her room rest for now. Everyone in the house felt the difference. My father stopped turning on the radio in the morning. My mother moved slower when she walked around the kitchen. Even Noelle stayed home more often than before. I spent a lot of time thinking about what happened. The lighthouse had changed something inside me. Before, I didn't care much about old places or quiet stories. But now, I understood how memories stay in things. I understood how people hold on to moments, even when they can't explain why. My grandmother had carried her memory of the lighthouse through her whole life, and we had helped bring it back to her in the end. One Saturday, I woke up early. The sun was shining, and the wind had stopped for once. I made tea and sat by the window. I could see the top of the lighthouse from my chair. It didn't look far. I started to wonder what would happen to it. The lighthouse wasn't working, and no one took care of it anymore. But it had become part of our story. I felt like it was ours now. Later that morning, I asked my parents if we could do something special. I wanted to take the painting of my grandmother to the lighthouse. I thought we could hang it in the small room we had found. My mother looked surprised at first. Then she smiled. "That would be nice," she said. "She would like that." Noelle agreed to come with me. He carried the painting in a cloth bag, and I brought a few candles and some tools. We walked slowly and talked about our grandmother. We remembered how she used to tell us bedtime stories when we were little. We remembered how she made sweet tea with lemon when we were sick. The walk felt like a goodbye and a thank you at the same time. When we reached the cliffs, we tied the rope again and went down the same path. The door to the hidden room was still closed. We opened it, and the inside looked just as we had left it. The sea was louder down there. It felt like the waves were closer than before. We cleaned a spot on the wall and hung the painting. Then we placed 3 candles below it. I lit each one slowly. The room felt warm for a moment, even though the air was cold. We stood there and looked at the painting. Her face looked calm and full of love. I felt proud that we had found this place. It wasn't big or special to the world, but it was special to us. I knew that even if the lighthouse fell one day, this moment would stay with me. On the way back, Noelle said something that stayed in my mind. "We should fix this place," he said. "Maybe we could paint the door or clean the path." I looked at him and smiled. "Yeah, I think we should." That summer, we started visiting the lighthouse more often. Sometimes we brought friends, but most days it was just Noelle and me. We painted the wooden door and fixed the rope. We cleaned the small room and made a shelf for the letters. My father helped us one weekend. He brought his toolbox and worked in silence. When he saw the painting again, he touched the frame and nodded without speaking. People in town started to hear about what we were doing. One of my teachers asked me about it. She said it sounded like a good project. A few weeks later, someone from the local news came to talk to us. They wanted to write a small story about the lighthouse. My mother was nervous about it, but she agreed. The story was short but kind. It talked about a family keeping memories alive. It showed a photo of the painting and the room we fixed. After that, more people started asking about the lighthouse. Some wanted to visit. Others offered help. A retired builder came and helped us fix a window. A woman who painted seabirds donated some art for the wall. The lighthouse was becoming something more. Was not just a quiet place anymore. It was a place full of stories and care. Some people brought old objects they found in their houses. A small group of teenagers helped clean the cliff path. We even placed a guest book near the door. Visitors wrote short notes and thank you messages. One message said, "This place made me feel peaceful. Thank you for sharing it." I started spending more time there on my own. I would sit on the bench and write in my notebook. I wrote about my grandmother, my dreams, and the sea. I started writing stories. Some were true. Some were made up. But they all started at the lighthouse. It became my place to think and breathe. One afternoon, a girl my age came by. Her name was Clara. She had heard about the lighthouse from a friend. She sat with me and we talked for hours. She asked about my grandmother and about the first time we came here. She told me her grandfather used to be a sailor. He died before she was born, but her mother said he loved lighthouses. Clara said this place helped her feel close to him. After that, she came often. We cleaned and painted and talked about everything. I showed her the old letters, and she helped me read the ones that were hard to understand. She became part of the lighthouse story, too. It's been a year since we found the barrel. My grandmother has been gone for 12 months, but I feel her with me often. I feel her when I walk down the cliff path. I feel her when I light the candles in the small room. I feel her when I hear the wind whisper past the tower. Our house is brighter now. My mother plays music in the kitchen again. My father bakes more often and jokes with Noel during breakfast. We still miss her, but we don't feel lost. We feel connected to her through the things we built and the stories we share. Sometimes people ask me why I care so much about the lighthouse. I don't always know how to answer. I usually say it's a place where my family's story lives. But really, it's more than that. It's a place where love stayed hidden and then was found again. It's where memories waited in a barrel and came back to life. It's where we brought peace to someone we loved, just in time. When I walk home from the lighthouse, I often stop and look back. The wind hits my face, and I hear the waves below. The lighthouse stands tall, quiet, and strong. It's not broken. It's not forgotten. It's part of us now. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.